What if I told you that the most powerful technique for transforming your reality was deliberately hidden from the public for centuries, not because it didn't work, but precisely because it worked too well? Throughout history, there have been methods of mental reprogramming so effective, so transformative, that traditional institutions saw them as dangerous. Not dangerous in a harmful sense, but dangerous because they gave ordinary people access to a level of power that was supposed to remain exclusive, controlled, and out of reach. For decades, mainstream psychology dismissed these techniques as too radical, too fast, or simply impossible. They preferred slower, more controlled approaches that kept people dependent on systems rather than awakening to their own innate capabilities. But here's what they didn't want you to discover. Reality itself isn't what you think it is. What you've been taught to see as an objective, unchangeable external world is actually something far more fluid, far more responsive to you than anyone ever admitted. The truth is, reality isn't something that happens to you. It's something that's being projected from within you, moment by moment, through invisible signals your mind broadcasts without you even realizing it. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up feeling a certain way, and suddenly your entire day seems to reflect that internal state back to you? Or you've felt genuinely confident about something, and opportunities started, appearing as if the universe was responding to your energy? Most people dismiss these as coincidences. But what if I told you there's an actual mechanism behind it, a hidden architecture in your mind that's been shaping every experience you've ever had? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, there was one visionary who understood this hidden mechanism better than almost anyone. Her name was Florence Scovel Shinn, and she proposed something revolutionary that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to validate. She discovered that our brains aren't passive receivers of information, simply recording what's already out there. Instead, they function as active creators of experience, tuning into a universal field of infinite possibilities that surrounds us at all times. Think about that for a moment. There's a field of pure potential around you right now. Every version of your life exists simultaneously within it. The version where you're thriving, the version where you're struggling, the version where everything flows effortlessly. They're all there, waiting. But here's the secret that was kept hidden. Your mind acts like a tuning device, selecting which version of reality you'll actually experience based on your dominant internal frequency. Your thoughts aren't just happening inside your head. Your emotions aren't just feelings passing through you. They're broadcasting outward like radio signals, collapsing infinite potential into the specific form you call your life. And what you're about to discover is the exact technique that allows you to consciously control this broadcast, to deliberately tune into the reality you actually want to experience, rather than remaining stuck on the frequency you inherited by default. Stay with me, because understanding what comes next could change everything about how you approach your life, your challenges, and especially your potential for transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because what I'm about to share bridges the gap between ancient spiritual wisdom and cutting-edge scientific discovery in a way that most people have never encountered. You see, for centuries, mystics and spiritual teachers spoke about consciousness creating reality, about the power of the observer, about how your inner world shapes your outer experience. And for just as long, mainstream science dismissed all of this as wishful thinking, as superstition, as something that couldn't possibly be measured or proven. But then something extraordinary happened in the early 20th century that shook the very foundations of what we thought we knew about reality. Scientists conducting the famous double-slit experiment discovered something that defied all logical explanation. They found that particles of light, the fundamental building blocks of matter, behave completely differently depending on whether they're being observed or not. When no one was watching, These particles acted like waves of pure possibility, existing in multiple states simultaneously. But the moment a conscious observer looked at them, something stunning occurred. The waves collapsed into definite particles with specific locations. If this resonated with you, I genuinely love to have you as part of this community. Hit that subscribe button so you stay connected to content that goes deeper into consciousness, transformation, and the hidden mechanisms that shape your reality. The observer literally influenced the behavior of matter. Consciousness wasn't just witnessing reality, it was actively participating in creating it. This wasn't philosophy anymore. This was documented, repeatable scientific evidence showing that the external world responds to the presence of awareness itself. Your state of being, your dominant internal frequency, your conviction about what's possible, these aren't just thoughts floating around in your head. They're signals being broadcast into the field of infinite potential. And that field is responding with precision, collapsing possibility into the specific experience you call your life. This revelation changed everything. Yet somehow most people still walk through their days completely unaware of the power they're wielding unconsciously. And here's where the hidden truth becomes even more profound, even more critical to understand. Behind the scenes of your everyday awareness, there's an entire operating system running on autopilot, making decisions, filtering perceptions, and shaping your responses without you even realizing it's happening. Research in neuroscience and cognitive psychology has revealed something startling. More than 90% of your daily decisions aren't actually coming from your conscious, rational mind at all. They're being directed by unconscious processes that have been running since childhood, quietly determining what you attract, what you avoid, and what you perceive as possible or impossible. Think about the impact of that for a moment. 9 out of every 10 choices you make today are being influenced by programming that was installed years ago, maybe even decades ago. Your subconscious mind is like a vast storage system that holds everything. Every comment your parents made about money when you were 5 years old, every moment you felt rejected or unworthy, every heartbreak you experienced, every limiting belief you absorbed from your culture or inherited from your family. And here's what makes this mechanism so powerful and so hidden at the same time. Your subconscious doesn't think, analyze, or question anything. It simply obeys. It accepts whatever has been programmed into it as absolute truth and then works tirelessly, relentlessly, to keep that truth alive in your experience, even when those beliefs are actively sabotaging your success, your relationships, your health, or your happiness. This is the journey from unconscious reaction to conscious creation, and understanding this mechanism is the first step toward reclaiming the power that's been yours all along. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to reprogram my reality." So if this unconscious programming is running the show behind the scenes, directing your decisions and shaping your perception of what's possible, the obvious question becomes, how do you actually see what's really available to you? How do you break through the invisible barriers that have been limiting your awareness without even knowing they existed? This is where understanding one of your brain's most powerful yet least understood mechanisms becomes absolutely critical. Inside your mind, there's a filter called the reticular activating system, and it's quietly controlling more of your reality than you could ever imagine. Every single second of your life, you're being bombarded with billions upon billions of pieces of sensory information. Sounds, sights, sensations, potential opportunities, possible connections. Your conscious mind couldn't possibly process all of that data. You'd be completely overwhelmed within moments. So your reticular activating system acts as a gatekeeper, a selective filter that decides what gets through to your conscious awareness and what gets screened out as irrelevant background noise. And here's the revelation that changes everything about how you understand your own perception. This filter doesn't operate based on logic or objective importance. It filters based entirely on what your subconscious has been programmed to consider relevant. What you believe internally, deep in that unconscious layer we just talked about, literally determines what you're able to see externally. If your subconscious holds a belief that opportunities are scarce, that success is hard, that money is difficult to earn, your reticular activating system will automatically screen out any evidence that contradicts those beliefs. You could be surrounded by open doors, helpful people offering support, perfect timing aligning in your favor, but your brain simply won't register them. They become invisible to you, filtered out as irrelevant data because they don't match your internal programming. This is the hidden mechanism behind why some people seem to have all the luck while others keep hitting walls no matter how hard they try. It's not that the opportunities aren't there. It's that their perception filter has been calibrated to a frequency that makes those opportunities undetectable. The impact of this understanding is profound because it means transformation isn't about changing what's out there in the world. It's about adjusting what's in here, reprogramming the filter so you can finally perceive the reality that's been waiting for you all along. But here's where most people get stuck on their journey. They try positive affirmations, standing in front of mirrors, declaring things they don't genuinely feel, and it creates this uncomfortable internal friction. When you say, "I am wealthy," but your bank account tells a different story, your subconscious immediately rejects it as false. That dissonance actually reinforces the old pattern rather than creating a new one. If you felt value in what we explored today, just tap that like button. It helps this message reach more people who are ready for it, and honestly, it lets me know this content is resonating the way it's meant to. But there's a backdoor into the subconscious that bypasses this resistance entirely, and it's surprisingly elegant in its simplicity. Questions. Well-formulated questions act like shortcuts, slipping past your conscious mind's defenses and planting seeds directly into your subconscious programming. Unlike statements that your mind can argue with, questions create a cognitive gap that your brain is actually hardwired to fill. The human mind cannot tolerate an unanswered question. It's psychologically uncomfortable. So when you ask something with genuine curiosity, your brain automatically starts searching for an answer, gathering evidence, building connections, all without you having to force anything. Instead of affirming, "I have abundance," which might trigger doubt, you ask yourself, why has it become so easy to live with so much abundance lately? Notice the subtle but powerful difference. You're not claiming something your mind might resist. You're assuming it's already true and asking your subconscious to explain why. This bypasses resistance completely because you're not fighting your current beliefs. You're inviting your mind to find proof of a new reality. And once you ask that question, your reticular activating system immediately adjusts its filter to start noticing evidence that supports the premise. Your mind begins scanning your environment for reasons why abundance is easy, recognizing opportunities you would have missed before. Put down in the comments, "I'm adjusting my filter now." Now here's where this technique becomes exponentially more powerful, where you move from simply adjusting your perception to actually embodying a completely different frequency of existence. Florence Scovel Shinn identified a specific level of consciousness where manifestation stops feeling like work and becomes something closer to inevitability. She called this the God state, not in a religious sense, but as a reference to the highest vibrational frequency a human being can access, where you're operating from a place of absolute certainty and alignment. In this state, there's no separation anymore between what you want and what you have. You're not hoping or wishing or trying to convince yourself of anything. You're simply being the version of yourself for whom the desire is already fulfilled. This isn't achieved through mental gymnastics or forced visualization techniques. It emerges naturally when three specific elements come into perfect alignment in your awareness. First, full presence in the now, not dwelling on past patterns or anxiously projecting into an uncertain future, but bringing all of your power into this exact moment. Second, elevated emotions that genuinely expand your energy field. Real gratitude, authentic joy, deep peace, not as a technique you're performing, but as a lived experience flowing through you. And third, complete identification with your new identity, where you stop acting like someone who's waiting for change to happen and start embodying someone who already lives that reality. When these three elements align, something remarkable happens in your internal architecture. The universe stops responding to your desire and starts responding directly to your vibration. Your decisions become effortless because you're no longer operating from a place of lack or striving. You're making choices from the consciousness of someone who already has what they seek, and those choices naturally draw you toward circumstances that match that frequency. But there's a specific window of time where accessing this state and imprinting it into your subconscious becomes almost effortless, and most people completely waste it every single day. I'm talking about the 60 seconds right before you fall asleep. That tiny window is one of the most potent opportunities you have for genuine transformation. Yet most of us spend it scrolling through our phones, replaying stressful moments from the day, or drifting off to random worried thoughts about tomorrow. Behind the scenes, though, something extraordinary is happening in your brain during this transition. As you move from wakefulness into sleep, you enter what scientists call the hypnagogic state. Your brainwaves shift from beta, which is your alert thinking state, into alpha and theta patterns. These are the exact same frequencies your brain operated in when you were a young child, between birth and about 7 years old, when you were completely open and receptive, absorbing information without questioning it, without filtering it through logic or doubt. In this state, the barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind essentially dissolves. There's no filter anymore, no resistance, no analytical mind pushing back against what you're trying to install. Whatever you impress upon your consciousness in these final moments before sleep goes directly into the subconscious and gets processed throughout the night as if it were absolute truth. This is the hidden portal that Florence Scovel Shinn understood so deeply, the direct access point where you can plant seeds that will reshape your entire perceptual reality while you sleep. Write in the comments, "I'm using this window tonight." So the question becomes, how do you actually use this window effectively? What's the specific process that transforms those 60 seconds from wasted time into a genuine reprogramming session that works while you sleep? Before bed, the first step is to disconnect completely from distractions. Put the phone away, turn off the screens, create a boundary between the noise of the day and this sacred transition time. Then lie down and focus on your breathing, letting each exhale release tension from your body until you feel genuinely relaxed, genuinely present. This isn't about forcing anything, it's about creating the internal space for something new to emerge. Here's where the technique becomes powerful. Instead of visualization, which can sometimes feel forced or artificial, you enter the feeling of your desire already fulfilled. Not the image of it, but the emotional reality of it. What would it actually feel like if what you wanted had already happened? Peace, freedom, excitement, gratitude, whatever the genuine emotion is for you, let it fill you completely. Let it expand through your chest, your body, your entire being, until it's not something you're trying to manufacture, but something you're genuinely experiencing in this moment. And then, at the peak of that feeling, when you're fully immersed in that emotional frequency, you ask your question, not as a desperate plea or a wish, but as a genuine inquiry framed as if it's already real. Why has everything been flowing so perfectly lately? Or, what shifted in me that made this transformation so natural? The question assumes fulfillment. It assumes the reality you want is already here, and you're simply curious about how it happened. Then you let yourself fall asleep in that vibrational state without returning to worry or analysis or mental chatter. You let that frequency be the last signal you broadcast before your consciousness shifts into the subconscious realm. During the night, while you sleep, this frequency gets processed, integrated, and reorganized as part of your mental structure. You wake up different, even if you don't consciously notice it at first. Your filter has adjusted. Your subconscious has accepted new programming. And here's where the journey from intention to manifestation accelerates in ways that most people never experience because they're missing the critical next step. Transformation doesn't happen through one powerful bedtime session alone. It happens through continuous alignment, through maintaining coherence between your internal state and your external behavior throughout the day. This is where the impact multiplies exponentially, where reality starts bending toward your new frequency with surprising speed. It's not about waiting passively for the universe to deliver what you programmed while you sleep. It's about showing up in your waking hours as the person who already embodies that reality. These are micro-actions, subtle adjustments in behavior that might seem insignificant, but send powerful confirmation. Signals to your subconscious. How does the prosperous version of you organize their morning? How does the confident version of you respond to small challenges or setbacks? How does the person living your desired reality make decisions about their time, their energy, their attention? You're not performing or pretending. You're embodying. You're being consistent with who you've decided to become, and each aligned choice reinforces the new identity, strengthening the signal you're broadcasting into. The field. When you combine the bedtime reprogramming with this continuous daytime alignment, something remarkable happens. The external world has no choice but to reflect back the frequency you're consistently holding. Opportunities appear, the right conversations happen, doors open that were invisible before. Write in the comments, "I'm aligning with my new identity." If you've made it this far, that tells me something important about you. You're not here for surface-level content or quick fixes that fade by tomorrow. You're genuinely on a path of transformation, seeking the deeper mechanisms that actually create lasting change in your life. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of person I create this content for. What we explore on this channel isn't just theory or motivational fluff. It's practical understanding that bridges ancient wisdom with modern science. The kind of insight that can genuinely shift how you make decisions, how you see yourself, and how you navigate your entire journey. If this resonated with you, if something clicked or shifted while you were watching, I'd genuinely love to have you as part of this community. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next revelation that might be exactly what you need to hear at exactly the right moment in your life. And leave a comment down below saying, "This message was meant for me," so I know you were here until the end. I read every single comment, and there's something powerful about acknowledging that we're all walking this path together, supporting each other's transformation. If you felt value in what we explored today, just tap that like button. It helps this message reach more people who are ready for it, and it lets me know this content is landing the way it's meant to. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into how consciousness shapes your daily reality in ways you probably haven't considered yet. Click and continue with me over there. I promise it's worth your time. I'll see you in the next one.